Hi there, Sandra here from createinspain, and today I want to show you how to create a card like this. Now, before you switch off in a complete and utter panic and say, oh, this is far too complicated, I can't possibly do this. If you have a cutting machine, you can do this. The method I'm using is very, very simple. I'm going to show you how to make the simplified version, but give you the file for this one so that you can get the same effect that I've got here. Because the effect is all in the filigree cuts, not the difficulty of how it's constructed. Start off with a piece of paper folded in half. Now the file is for A4 size, so this makes an A5 style card, but you can downsize it if you wish, if your machine is capable of cutting things a little bit finer. So the first thing, I have a piece in the file and it's simply a strip of paper, or card I should say, and it has the score lines in it, and what you want to do is to fold it in half and give it some feet. If you glue the center, do use decent glue, not like this stuff that I'm using, which isn't really strong enough for this, but I'm just using it for demo purposes. And then you want to put some glue on one side here, and you want to put that into the center of the card. It's a lot easier when everything is machine cut because all the angles are correct. So put that in there, just check that the paper folds over and it's in the correct place. Glue on this side and do the same thing. Now, if you have any sense, you'll put something relatively heavy on this and just go away and leave it for a few minutes. I'm not going to do that, am I? Of course not. Don't be silly. Doing a demonstration, I'm not going to leave it. So this stalk here is the mainstay of the entire design. If you get this right, everything else is going to follow relatively smoothly. So the other bit that you're going to come across on the first page of the file is this. It's simply a rectangular tube. And this is the mainstay of making everything pop up. This holds everything in place, and this provides gaps and the ability for the card to open and close properly with everything on it. So yeah, important piece. I've made it one large piece because, well, you may as well keep it. You can cut pieces off rather than making lots of individual pieces which may or may not be the right size. Okay, it makes it easier. If you've got to stick things in between bits of filigree, it makes it a lot easier to do. So what you need to be able to do is to get your layers to stand up. Now I've got a short piece which I can cut into a couple of different pieces here. I'm just going to cut this into three. What happens next is this narrow piece gets some glue on it, and then one of the long sides. The long side that is glued goes on the base, and the narrow bit goes against this post that we've put in, and put one on the opposite side as well. And you do want to make sure that it's properly stuck, because if it isn't and it moves, then it makes life difficult for you further down the design. But it definitely needs to be stuck first. If it isn't, if something comes off, it's not going to work too well. So for demonstration purposes, I'm simply using hand cut shapes. And they have a slit in the center because that's where the post is going to go. Cut properly. So all your fold lines, all your cut lines are in the file. You don't have to worry about this. They're sized correctly for what you've got, so no extra work needs to be done. So you want to put a bigger one on first, and all we have to do is to put glue on here, and put it down. Now the other thing that I will mention, I can get this over my post, go through, there we go. I have made them quite a tight fit so they don't move around too much. Now you notice that if you glue that on there, it's going to be automatically raised from the edge. If it needs more support, you can always put more of these under the edge. But what you need to do is to make sure that the hole here is facing towards you. If you have the card in this direction, the hole faces you, because that allows it to flatten when the card is closed and pulls it upright when it is open. But there you have it. You don't have to put another one here. If your card is thick enough, it'll stand on its own merit. If you've got an awful lot of filigree in it and your card isn't stiff enough, then it might need the extra support. So next off, we want another one of these. Well, another two of them. And again, short side, long side, and it goes onto the stalk. I'll put one on the other side and make sure that it is well glued. So this is probably the most important tip out of the entire lot. Just make sure your glue stays put. Because you can make the card as well as you like. If your glue's useless, then the card isn't going to work. So the next layer goes on top, and again it has a slit, so it just gets added to the post. And you put glue on here, glue on here, and that's still not sticking to that post. Really? Oh dear. And so I get that through there. There we go. It slides down and it goes on to the next layer. So you can see that the layers are nicely separated. Now this looks terrible. However, it's the same principle as doing this one. It's just the shapes that are different. So the next thing to do on this would be to stick the swan on. And I've just cut out a couple of paper swans here. And it's designed so that it fits onto the stalk, and the stalk will be hidden. And we have one going that way. Turn it around. And we have glue on this side, and we match it up, and you can add glue to this part as well to try and keep everything together. And we have our swan sitting in the middle of his lily pads or whatever. So that is how it's done. Now the rest of it is done by decorative touches. So we have leaves of different sorts, and I'll give you the file which has got all the different leaf shapes in it. Now some of these are just stuck flat on the background, as you can see, but some are sticking up. And that is really simple to do, because all it is a leaf bent over, glue applied on here, and it is stuck onto the card like so. So if I do this, hide it underneath there and stick it down. If I didn't have glue over bits that I shouldn't have it on, it literally goes like so, and it will stick up depending on how much you've got turned over. So that is the easy way of doing it. When it comes to the center fold, you can either fold your leaf first, or you can allow it to be folded. You can either stick it down flat like so and it will fold up, or if you want to, you can add glue to a tab or a folded section of the leaf, and you stick it under there. You allow it to dry, very important, and then you fold the card shut, and it will find its natural crease mark in the leaf itself. You don't have to line it up with the center fold. It'll find it when it is shut, and it's glued down properly. You see, it will find its own crease mark. As I said, this glue is pretty dire for doing this, but you get the idea. So there's nothing else in there that is complicated. Now for the swan, I've given you a couple of different options. You can do a plain swan if you wish. You can do the plain swan with the filigree wing if you want to. But I've also included a print and cut, which will give you a stylized swan to just print, cut and stick in, and you don't have any extras to add on to it. I've put another leaf here, and as you can see, all I've done is folded the leaf, glued the very bottom bit and allowed the top bit to fold out. I've added leaves on top of here, I've put leaves underneath here. Some of them I have folded back on themselves. This one here, for example, I cut off most of the post and just left a triangle underneath, and that is raised because it's folded. And yeah, you can mix and match leaf styles. Now these pieces here, the main pieces, I've given you two different designs for them. I've put both in here, but what you could do is do two sizes of one or the other, or you can do what I've done, pick one to go on the base, make it larger, pick the second one, make it smaller, but it doesn't have to be the same one. It isn't on here. And that's what makes the card really, really fancy. It's all the filigree stuff. It makes it look like it's really difficult, but in actual fact, it's exactly the same technique as this. So this looks terrible, that looks great, but it's just as easy to make a good one as it is to make a bad one, as long as you have a cutting machine of some description. I cut this on my laser because I was doing prototypes and I don't have to weed anything out. With my laser, everything just drops out and it's fine. If you're cutting this on a normal cutting machine at this size, all your cutting machine should be able to cut this without any problem. You want to make sure your blade is sharp. You want to make sure you've got your cut settings sorted before you start cutting all this, because otherwise you'll run into problems. But as long as you've got your cut settings correct, these files will cut on a normal cutting machine without any issue. So this is 200 GSM card and it will be fine. If you're using anything heavier than that, yes, it might give you some problems because there are some fine cuts. But I've given you, I think it's something like 4 different leaf designs to choose from. What I did was I chose the leaf designs that I wanted, cut them all out in pages of leaf designs. I had a load left over. I had 12 leaves left over, and that's fine because I could use them, for example, to make a cover panel for my card, but I would sooner cut out a whole page of leaves and have some left over than have to stop partway through my construction because I didn't have enough. But that's how it's made. Really, really easy, as you can tell. Nothing difficult in here. There's no slits, there's nothing for you to be concerned about. And you don't have to make a complete outer cover for this because it doesn't have any holes in the main card. And I wanted to give you some freedom so you don't have to have your leaves in the position that I designated them. The only bits which are fixed are the 2 center layers, the platforms, and the swan. Other than that, you can do what you like. I've not gone for a symmetrical look here. Some people won't be able to tolerate it if it's not symmetrical. So you choose how you want it to be and make it your own design. You can alter the center piece if you wanted to. I originally intended to do this with a fairy or something like that. And then I thought, well, you can't do a fairy just in pure white because it probably won't look right. And I wanted to do a pure white card. So I changed it to a swan. But you could put anything in the center that you really like. And there we are, that's it. Hope you're going to give it a go because it is a fun one to make and it's going to be very impressive for whoever receives it. Give it a like if you've liked the video and subscribe if you haven't. And I am on Facebook under createinspain and Siser Juliet Beginners to Pro if you want to get hold of me via that means. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Take care now.